Hello and welcome to the Fawley site on behalf of ExxonMobil and our contractor companies. ExxonMobil believe in nobody gets hurt, meaning that everyone finishes their working day the same as they started it, safely. The nobody gets hurt belief is based on the fact that we believe all accidents are avoidable and preventable. Working safely and protecting the environment are the most important things here at Fawley. We mean what we say. We expect everyone to maintain the highest standards and follow our site rules, which are designed to keep you safe. Because everybody's safety is so important to us, we cannot tolerate failure to meet these standards and rules. This induction will explain our key requirements and will help you to meet our expectations. Please concentrate on what we tell you and respect our advice. Never use mobile phones, radios or other electronic devices whilst in refinery areas. Do not use mobile phones at all, except within designated areas of site buildings. Most areas of the site require the wearing of some amount of personal protective equipment, PPE. This varies from the wearing of light eye protection in some areas to the wearing of full PPE in areas adjacent to the process units. Your host and signage will indicate the various standards that you'll need to comply with. Fawley uses the Loss Prevention System, or LPS for short. This behavioural-based safety system is used in most ExxonMobil sites worldwide. LPS comprises key tools used in order to prevent incidents and injuries and to share all losses and near losses. The first key tool of LPS is the Loss Prevention Self-Assessment, or LPSA. This is a continuous mental risk assessment process where you assess the risk, what's the worst that can happen, analyse how to reduce the risk, and act to make sure you've mitigated all hazards. We call this the 3 A's. We are committed to creating a positive, supportive work environment for our employees and contractors that is free from any form of harassment. We want a site where discrimination does not happen and where everyone is respected and valued. A site where we recruit and engage both employees and contractors from different backgrounds, and we value diversity of thought. We are all responsible, open, and talk about this topic, and will call out any unacceptable behaviours. Harassment of any form is unacceptable and won't be tolerated. We hold everyone accountable to these commitments, and everyone is proud of the working culture at Fawley. As a visitor to the Fawley site, we consider you are a vulnerable person, and at all times you'll be escorted. Wear an orange lanyard, and if out on site, wear an orange hat and never be unescorted. We mean what we say. We expect everyone to maintain the highest standards and follow our site rules, which are designed to keep you safe. And because everybody's safety is so important to us, we cannot tolerate failure to meet these standards and rules. If you're visiting the site to work, then you will need to be signed in on a short-term contractor pass, SCP. If you're going to be on site for 5 days or more, you will need to attend a full site induction. You must report any failure to follow the rules to your supervisor, irrespective of the people involved. The circumstances surrounding the rules breach will be investigated to establish the root cause and to put in place a solution that prevents reoccurrence. In the area of safety, the most important rules are referred to as life-saving rules. We fully acknowledge these 4 rules may go further than other places you may have worked at, but we make no apology for this. As new to site people, you're expected to understand and follow these without question. You must adhere to these 100% of the time. Because experience has shown that not following these rules can have serious safety consequences and even lead to loss of life, failure to follow these rules can result in significant discipline up to and including exclusion from our site. The life-saving rules are summarised as follows. Follow fall protection on procedures including 100% tie-off. Follow work permit procedures. Follow hazardous energy control procedures. Do not defeat safety-critical devices without proper authorisation. Let me explain each one in detail. Follow fall protection procedures. You must follow fall protection procedures, including 100% tie-off. For example, if exposed to a fall of more than 2 meters, If you are 2 metres off the ground and not on a permanent complete platform or green-tagged scaffold deck. If the risk assessment for the job requires fall protection to be worn below 2 metres. The only exception to this is when using ladders and stairs. Remember, you don't necessarily need to climb on a structure to be exposed to a fall. Some excavations can be well over 2 metres. Follow work permit procedures. Work only with a valid work permit on jobs that require a permit. You must also complete all required gas tests before issuing or receiving a work permit. Complete a joint job site visit to verify permit information when required. And remember, entry into a confined space requires a valid entry permit, appropriate ventilation, monitoring of the space and a hole watch. Follow hazardous energy control procedures. Conduct maintenance on equipment only when all hazardous energy sources are isolated and the equipment is verified to be de-energized. Never remove or tamper with hazardous energy control devices, the locks, tags and the devices they are securing without proper authorization. Opening process equipment requires that the equipment is properly cleared, isolated and de-energized, and that personnel wear the proper PPE. Do not defeat safety-critical devices without proper authorization. Safety-critical devices and equipment must not be interfered with, removed or bypassed without the correct authorization and mitigation in place. Remember, these systems are designed to protect workers from dangerous situations occurring on the site or on equipment. Let me repeat, because experience has shown that not following these life-saving rules can have serious safety consequences and even lead to loss of life. Failure to follow these rules can result in significant discipline up to and including exclusion from our site. There are other key site rules you need to follow. Do not possess or consume alcoholic beverages, prohibited drugs or other intoxicants, or to be under their influence whilst on site. And do not bring these substances onto site. The site limit for alcohol in a breath sample is half the legal limit for the public road. Do not smoke other than in designated smoking shelters identified by smoking permitted signs. Vapor cigarettes, or e-cigarettes as they're known, are not permitted anywhere on the site. Do not bring firearms, unauthorized explosives or weapons on site. Do not indulge in horseplay, fighting or malicious damage. You will face disciplinary proceedings if you do. Do not bring matches or lighters for smoking into the site. There are lighters in the designated smoking shelters. To drive on site as a visitor, you will require to be signed in on an SCP. You must have a current driving license for the class of vehicle you're driving. Our site is large and we require you to drive with care and attention. You're required to report any road traffic incident and always drive defensively. Always wear your seatbelt and always drive with dipped headlights. Remember, at Forley, stop really means stop, so fully stop at road junctions and crossings where there's a stop sign and continuous line on the junction. You must not drive into an operating area without the correct pass or permit. You must always follow the highway code. Reverse park wherever practical and never leave your engine running whilst unattended. Always shut off your engine if the gas alarm sounds in your location. Never use mobile phones, radios or other electronic devices whilst driving in refinery areas. The minimum personal protective equipment in operating areas is a safety helmet, safety boots, safety spectacles or goggles, flame retardant overalls or coveralls and gloves. You must wear a minimum of single hearing protection in all plant operating areas and other areas where indicated by signs, that is earplugs or earmuffs. For noise exceeding 95 decibels, you must wear double hearing protection, that is earplugs and earmuffs. When you've finished with your earplugs, they are to be disposed of in the appropriate waste container, not on the ground. Asbestos is present in many operating areas. You must not disturb asbestos materials. There are many hazardous and toxic substances on the Forley process units. You must follow your company COSH assessments and procedures and the requirements of your permit to work to minimise the risks of exposure to these substances. Most blocks also have local inductions which you must attend before starting work. The purpose is to give you more information about the specific hazards you may encounter. These blocks have alarms to indicate the presence of gas or another emergency. In an emergency, it's essential that the emergency response is initiated immediately. This can be done by using the plant emergency telephones, by dialing 999 on the internal SLX phones, or by radio. Begin your message with the words urgent, urgent, urgent. If your personal H2S monitor alarm, the block alarm or coma alarm sounds, immediately stop work, use your respirator and go across wind as indicated by the block windsock to an evacuation assembly point. You should expect to have a daily job start discussion with your supervisor or their nominated stand-in each day. You are to actively participate in this safety discussion as it is our expectation of you. Forley uses the Loss Prevention System, or LPS. You should remain focused during your task and consider any new hazards should they arise. If you cannot do your task safely for any reason, stop work and consult your supervisor or safety advisor. It's important to avoid tripping hazards through good housekeeping. Always correctly segregate and dispose of waste in the correct waste containers. For all tasks you are participating in, consideration for the environment is to be considered during both planning and execution, and as such, appropriate solutions are to be put in place to protect the environment at all times. Should things go wrong and you're hurt, no matter how minor the injury, you must report it to your supervisor and go to the site first aid on South Avenue between 9th and 10th Street. This will ensure that you obtain prompt assessment and treatment. You should also report any near losses, also known as near misses, to your supervisor and together fill out a simple form which will enable the root cause to be identified and appropriate matching solutions put in place to prevent the near loss becoming a loss for the next person. The information that you have just seen and heard will give you a good understanding of the priorities we place on safety, security, health and the environment. In summary, we do not want you to be involved in an incident. We do not want you to be injured. We do not want you to injure anyone else, and we want you to go home safely. If there is any aspect of this induction or the site rules that you don't understand or require more clarification on, please talk to your host or supervisor. Thank you for listening and keeping our site safe.